Get into it. Sold Not For Sale podcast. Coach Colin here. We got Joe Rogan going absolutely nuclear on what's going on at the border and the immigration policies that are just making everything harder. Not just for the people that are coming across, because it's very hard for them as well, but how hard it's becoming for American citizens and just the nonsense of the policies that are in place right now. Then I have a wild CNN interview for you. You will not believe what this CNN anchor says. Then we got Trump and JD Vance discussing the numbers of people that have come over, and they're just talking about the border. And Trump actually reveals something that we never even thought of in regards to the app that Kamala Harris is bragging about that brought in all the Haitian immigrants and the cartels possibly using that app. And then I have a man who shows you just how easy it is to use that app with zero documentation. Let's start with the Joe Rogan clip. Let's go.
You're doing it at the same time where ICE admits that what are the numbers of murderers and convicted criminals that have made it into this country? It's something bananas. And this is just verified. This is verified data. Do you know what it is, Jamie? Because I could find it, because somebody sent it to me, and I literally couldn't believe it's real. So I'll send it to you, and you can find out if it is real. Because if it's true, it's fucking bananas. And just the sheer numbers, they're scary. These are scary numbers, man. It's like no one thinks this is a problem. And look, I am the product of immigration. My grandparents came here at a time where it was very easy to come here. And I just sent you a screenshot, see if you can find out if it's true. It was very easy to come here. And a lot of people who came here were criminals.
Yeah.
You know, look, a lot of people in my family were criminals. You know, they were Italians in the 1920s. It was just a lot. My grandmother went to jail. You know, when I was a kid, my grandmother went to jail for a book making.
Yeah, no, when you watch The Godfather, the original Godfather, it's the ties to Italy and how intertwined all that is wild. And that's based on, somewhat based on reality.
My grandmother's sister murdered her husband.
So
yeah,
crazy.
I grew up, these are wild people. These are people that came over on a fucking boat before YouTube. They didn't even know what it was like over here. They took a chance. They took a chance. So I am completely sympathetic to immigrants, but you can't let in fucking gang members. Okay, there got to be some kind of screening. You want to make it easier to get in for people that are hardworking, people that just want a better job? I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Just make it easier for them to get in. Make it easier for the people that have been here for 20 years to become citizens.
Yeah.
I know people. I know a kid she's 28 now. She was born in America, she was born in Mexico, but her parents brought her over here when she was a baby. So she doesn't speak Spanish. She has been in America her whole fucking life. And she's not an American citizen, so she can't vote. She's limited in the kind of jobs she can do. It's fucking weird. It's weird that we do that, but yet my grandparents just came over on a boat and they write a piece of paper and they're in. It's nuts. We should have a screening process to keep evil people out. That's it. Everyone else. Look, can you imagine if you're born in Guatemala? Wouldn't you want to come over here and get a job as a landscaper? You could make $600 a week, $700 a week. Oh my God! And then you live in a family in a house with a bunch of people, which they're used to doing anyway. And then someone branches off and makes their own business, and all of a sudden you're living the American dream, right? Yeah. This is what we all want for everybody.
Yeah.
There's enough for everybody, but you can't let in murderers.
Yeah, there's got to be a process.
This is crazy. And you can't let them in and ship them to swing states and then try. I mean, it's just so in your face. Ship them to swing states, and then there's all this talk now of amnesty for all the people that came in. Well, I'm all for amnesty for the people that have been here their whole life, like this girl that I know who's 28 years old now. I'm all for that. Yeah, that makes no sense. She should be American. She's a fucking American. She pays sales tax and all this other tax. But yeah, those people. But there should be some sort of screening process. You know, if you're in fucking gangs that bring in fentanyl, hey, maybe we shouldn't let that guy in. And this is the whole idea of having borders in the first place. And what's shocking is if you try to come here legally, it's very difficult. I've had friends from Canada, like comedians from Canada that want to move to America. And it's a long fucking process to become an American citizen.
Yeah.
It's difficult. And you have to do homework. You gotta answer tests. But if you just walk in, they'll give you money, they'll house you, they'll give you an EBT card, they'll give you food stamps. What the are we doing? Well, we must be doing something. So it's either one of two things. Either we want cheap labor, and this is what Tim Dillon thinks. He thinks that the cheap labor market for construction and all these jobs that most people don't want to do anymore, it's falling off a cliff. And the best way to sustain those industries is to bring in cheap labor, and the best way to do that is to bring in migrant workers because they're willing to do jobs that a lot of people won't. And this is the positive side of like Springfield, Ohio, where people talk about the Haitians that move there. The people that employ these Haitians say these people are hard workers. They're so happy to be here. They want the American dream. That's great. That's what we want. We want more of that. That's all good. But you can't make it insanely difficult for a college-educated person from Norway to move here because they want to do literally, like when Chamath was on, he explained that when he was over here going through his visa process, they had to show that he was doing something that an American couldn't do. You have to be someone of exceptional skill.
Oh, that's wild.
A very difficult person to find.
Yeah.
And then you could get a passport. And then, you can get a green card and eventually became a U.S. citizen. But it's a long process and a difficult process because every year where you go to get your visa renewed, you're at the whim of this person. Who knows if they had a bad day? Mm-hmm. Who knows if their fucking wife just started fucking the mailman and they found out about it and she drained their bank account and he's like, you, go back to Canada. They can do that to you. They can do that to you at a whim. But if you walk in, Nancy Pelosi wants you to get amnesty.
He's a wildlife photographer for Cabela's, and he's somewhere.
That's a great job.
From somewhere over in Russia, but it literally took him years to get his citizenship, and he became friends with the girl who worked at the guy who approved his desk, and would literally message her, and she'd be like, "Nope, not today. Nope, not today." And he waited for a day when the guy was having a great day, and went and had his meeting, and he got his citizenship. But it took him years, and now he's working here for Cabela's, shooting wildlife photography and living the dream. And he grew up reading in Russia, reading these books about the Great West, and like he wanted to be a cowboy, and he tells these stories. But he is an example of somebody who believes in the American dream, and that's where I go back
to. It's difficult for them to acquire. It's difficult. So let's see what it says here. Department of Homeland Security spokesperson told Newsweek, the data in this letter is being misinterpreted. The data goes back decades. It includes individuals who entered the country over the past 40 years or more, the vast majority of whose custody determination was made long before this administration. Okay, but you are still saying that those people are here. Noted that his letter that ICE is bound by statutory requirements not to release certain non-citizens from its custody during the pendency of removal proceedings. He added that most non-citizens who are convicted of homicide are typically not eligible for release from ICE custody. They're like, listen, if you kill people, if you're an illegal alien, you sneak across the border and you kill Americans, how about nobody's eligible for release? Yeah. How about that? Let's just start with that.
Well, if you think about it, if you're a felon in the United States, you're not allowed to vote. So wouldn't it make sense that we don't accept, somebody with a criminal record into the United States? Like we have a lot of fights that we're already fighting, and a lot of budgetary restraints as a society that we can't really dig ourselves out of the hole with right now.
But we have so much money for Ukraine. It may be shocking to hear the Biden-Harris administration is actively releasing tens of thousands of criminal illegal aliens into our communities, but their own numbers conclusively prove this to be the case. This defies all common sense, read a statement. Newsweek has contacted the Harris campaign for comment via email outside of standard working hours. What does that mean? What is standard working hours? That's why they didn't get back to him? It was outside of standard working hours. The email arrived at 5:15. Put that back up again. Department of Homeland Security spokesperson told Newsweek the data in this letter is this is the one that said it's being so this is a Department of Homeland Security spokesperson says it's being misused. Scroll that down a little bit further. See what it says there. Congressional Republicans voted against them twice. The Democratic presidential candidate added, "We took executive action to reduce unlawful border crossings." See, this is the thing that gets weird. It's like, they say that Trump, the Biden administration is trying to say that Trump blocked some sort of border wall bill because he wanted it to be something that he could campaign against it. So he instructed the Republicans to vote against it. There's so much that kind of I don't know if that's true or not, but it's the possibility of that being on the table. I'm not accusing anyone of doing that, but imagine a world where it's a person could conspire, and I'm not saying they did, but a person could conspire to make something happen because that would be something that they could campaign against. Look what you did. And that's how dirty this game is. That's why nobody wants to do it, unless you're crazy. Unless you're crazy like Trump. And he just waits. He sent Mark Cuban a letter when Mark Cuban's
right. Joe just said a whole lot, guys. Let's get right into the beginning. I got to show you guys something real quick. You got to celebrate Trump. He's back in Butler, and he does this.
Lee, thank you very much, really. And thank you, a very big thank you to Pennsylvania. We love Pennsylvania. And as I was saying, oh, I love that.
The infamous chart, the chart that made him turn his head just a little bit and actually saved his life. Obviously, he loves that chart, and he's right back in Butler with Elon Musk, and I believe JD Vance is there as well. I'll bring you guys more on that another time, but I have to show you that wild CNN interview that I was just telling you guys about. Now, this gentleman right here is very concerned about what's going on at the border, the immigration policies. This man has a interesting response. Listen to this.
You know what I can say, Jim? I can say that 13,099 murderers were let into this country, 16,000 rapes, 425,000 people in the last 4 years have been let into this country by Kamala Harris and Joe Biden's own Customs and Border Protection that are running
Corey,
around this country, Jim.
The other thing, too, is Kamala Harris.
Crimes.
I don't know. Why do you guys say Kamala? That is, it's Kamala Harris.
Jim, we know that they're committing crimes against Americans. Why can't these individuals talk about the individuals who've been killed by illegal immigrants? 13,099 murderers have been let into this country by this administration's own accounting, and you guys don't want to talk about it. You know what I can say, Jim? I can say that 13,099 murderers were let into this country, 16,000 rapists, 425,000 people in the last 4 years have been let into this country by Kamala Harris and Joe Biden's own Customs and Border Protection that are running
Corey,
around this country, Jim.
The other thing, too, is Kamala Harris.
Crimes.
I don't know. Why do you guys say Kamala? That is, it's Kamala Harris.
This guy, wow. Unbelievable. Even if you actually do feel that way about her name, it's like, oh my God, you have to say her name properly. And I didn't even hear a difference between the two names that he just said. Kamala, like, what's the difference? Call her Karumbara, okay? Karumbara. We all know who you're talking about. It's the Indian lady who says that she's black. Everybody knows who it is. There's only one of them in politics, okay? So let's just drop it. But the fact this guy's like, he's like, oh my God, you have no idea what's going on with the border. There's all these people. There's murderers. There's terrorists. It's the worst thing ever. He's like, I really noticed that you said Kamala. I mean, it's not really Kamala. I mean, forget about all the murderers and all that. Okay, can we just talk about the enunciation of her name? Absolutely crazy. I can't even tell. It's so funny. Is he trying to be funny, or is he just that crazy? I don't even know what to say about that. Very interesting stuff, but those are the numbers that Joe Rogan was talking about, and we're gonna have Trump touch on those numbers as well, and we got JD Vance coming in right after that. Listen to this.
When just one convicted murderer escapes from prison in real life, right? We have one person will escape who's not nearly as bad as the people we're letting in. He's like a perfect person compared to the people we're letting in. You'll see that in a second. But if somebody escapes, we have a massive manhunt, and we look all over the place, and we got everything, and we have 13,099 that just came in. We have massive manhunts. It's all over the place, and they capture them. But now we have 13,099. That's just the murderers. And over 600,000 they call them highest level criminals in our country. Kamala let in the 13,099 convicted murderers and opposes all efforts to find them and to remove them. She opposes all these efforts.
President Trump, that is basically treason, but can we just go to the more important point? You called her Kamala. I just really don't understand why you have to call her by that name. It's very disrespectful. It's racist, in fact. I mean, it's kind of Hitler-esque, I have to say. And it's so funny. I'm not even I'm not even really altering what he said. I'm just saying it again, and it's funny. It's ridiculous. All right, let's jump over to JD Vance, and those are the numbers. And it's funny because when Trump says stuff like this, a year or two ago, a lot of people, even people who supported him, would be like, okay, his supporters, they would get on board. But a lot of people, just in general, will hear stuff like this and be like, okay, he's trying to play it up. And he's not playing it up. This is real. This is very real. There are very real terrorists coming over. There are very real criminals. There are very real murderers. It's very real. And a lot of people think it's just hyperbole. It's the same old stuff. They think him saying stuff like that is the equivalent of someone on the left calling him or his supporters Nazis. They think it's the same thing. I notice a lot of people think that when I talk about Kamala Harris being a Marxist, they think it's the same thing. Like, that's just my way of calling her something like a Nazi. It's like, no. Do your research, man. Anyway, we got JD Vance coming in, bringing up some stuff from Springfield, Ohio that's very surprising.
First of all, whatever a local mayor said about this case, I am hearing from dozens of constituents who are concerned about these issues. They are allowed to be concerned about these issues, and I think it's shameful how the American media ignores them. Now, you mentioned a Proud Boys march. I imagine that's the clip that I saw yesterday of about a dozen people marching down the street. Of course, I don't align myself with the views of the Proud Boys, Margaret, but we have to remember that this is a real problem. The media is using things like a dozen marchers to ignore and distract from the fact that thanks to Kamala Harris's open borders, there are children who aren't getting a good education. Thanks to her open border, there is a rise in HIV cases in Springfield, Ohio. Thanks to her open border, murders are up 81% in Springfield, Ohio. I am much more concerned about the Vice President of the United States failing to do her job than I am that a dozen people carried the wrong flag when they were marching in Springfield, Ohio yesterday. Let's focus on the real problem. That's the Vice President of the United States not doing her job. First of all,
now, I just want to get to the important issue. He did call her Kamala, so I mean, we got to discard everything he said, just so you know. But no, it's crazy. 81%. Murders up 81% in Springfield. Because, I mean, a lot of people don't realize it, but this has been going on for years, right? This has been going on since Biden took office. We've only gotten this major spike in news about Springfield, Ohio, but it's been an ongoing thing for years that the residents have been dealing with. And the fact that HIV is up as well is very surprising. Yeah, sad. Sad. Very, very sad stuff going on in Springfield, Ohio. Joe Rogan touched on some things in Springfield, Ohio, talking about the people who hire these Haitian immigrants. A lot of they're just hardworking people. And I don't doubt that. And I did an interview with somebody who was in Springfield, Ohio. And, the numbers that he was giving me in regards to jobs that were available and immigrants that came in, and we all know it's 20,000, there were not 20,000 jobs to be had there. And I noticed that whether it's, say her name properly, whether it's, the Proud Boys marched, and what do you think of that? They're just trying to deflect so much from what's actually going on. And it's kind of disgusting, honestly, to be deflecting so hard. I mean, I'm sure there's some good people, but they never had enough jobs, right? They're definitely going through a crisis right now in terms of car accidents and deaths and, the ducks missing and this and that is a real thing. It's just, the reason that they're there is not because they work hard and that they needed some jobs in the American dream. I'm sure there's a small percentage that just wanted that. But the real reason they were brought over was not for their needs. It was for the needs of the current administration. I think that's becoming really obvious. Now check out what Trump says here. This is very interesting. I never even thought of this. Listen to this clip.
Discussed in the debate, not only is Comrade Kamala allowing illegal aliens to stampede across our border, but she is flying them here from other countries. Remember, she said, no. Remember when their polls were crashing a few months ago, she said, oh, and they issued some order. I don't know what it was, because it stopped it a little bit, slowed it down a little bit, but it doesn't mean he knows. He's laughing. He knows because they'll slow down a little bit. Then they'll say, oh, look at the numbers. But they have a problem. They didn't include the airplane numbers. They fly them in by the tens of thousands. Think of it. They're trying to say they're into the border, and yet they have airplanes, beautiful airplanes, going and picking them up and dropping them into the middle of our country, where I would say that the states, it means we really have 50 border states. No, they're dropping them into the middle of our country all over the place. They fly them in. Think of that. They fly them in by jets. They're flying in all the time. And Art, they don't count those numbers, do they? They don't talk about them. When they fly in, and then they have a special app, right? They have an app where the cartels are allowed to use the app to get their people in. Do you believe this? It's an app for cartels. So the illegal cartels that are among the richest people in the world, by the way. We think we have a lot of wealth. Well, take that 400, the Forbes 400 or whatever it is. Forbes isn't doing so well anymore. But take whatever the hell 400 they have. These guys would qualify. In many cases, they'd be a hell of a lot richer. The cartels are using this app, think of it, to bring thousands and thousands of people here illegally. Over the past 3.5 years, Harris-Biden administration has resettled 500,000 illegal immigrants from the failed state of Haiti, which is a totally failed country, very sad situation, into American communities, including over 200,000 who Kamala has illegally flown into the United States by airplane. Think of that.
Now, there's some interesting stuff here. Now, what just popped into my head as he was talking about Haiti being a failed country, it's interesting that sometimes the U.S., and not the citizens, obviously, but they'll go to places and it's like, let's spread that freedom. Let's spread that liberty. And they'll go into a place and they'll stay there for years and years and years. And Trump's like, hey, I want to get us out of here. And they're like, oh, you're terrible. Oh, my God. Why don't they go and do that with Haiti? You're willing to help out Ukraine to that extent. Why don't, instead of making all of them come over, why not just go to that country and be like, we got some straightening out to do. There's warlords? That's not government. You want us to help you take out the warlords? There's this guys running around with machetes. We'll help take them out. One team of Green Berets, we'll take them all out. 34 hours. That's it. Why don't they do that? It's very interesting. They don't do that. Instead, they're just like, just come over to all the Republican states. And don't worry about social. Register the vote. Just register the vote. No, you don't need a social. You don't even need it. Just put zeros there. Okay. And we gave you a permit to drive. Just put that in and you're registered. There you go. I'm not making that situation up. Now, what Trump also talked about was that app. Now, this is an interesting video because this gentleman actually takes the time to go on to this app to show how easy it is to actually register yourself as someone who needs protection and needs to come over to the United States of America. Check this out.
In that vice presidential debate last night, I was curious just how easy that CBP One app was to use. So I downloaded it. So once you create an account from the main page, you just have to choose if you're the smuggler or the smugglee. Then you just got to fill in basic info, first name, last name, all the basics. I don't know my gender yet. I'm still figuring that out. Now it's time to take a selfie, and passport or any identification is also optional. Then it asks you which state you're headed to. I said I didn't know the address. I didn't know the city. I just chose California, and then I added the first zip code that Google gave me for California. And that's it. I'm good to go. It does let you choose between like 8 different bridges to meet under. I chose the Eagle Pass Bridge to meet under. I just have to wait until noon, so a couple more hours to actually make my appointment. Now I know what you're saying. That's not you, that's Carlos Mencia. Correct. I was just trying to show you how easy it was to register. I'm just a white dude from Michigan. This took me 5 minutes. Someone who really wants to get into this country, get temporary asylum with open-ended expiration dates, they'll just use their own picture. I said I have no documentation, I have no ID, no passport, no license. There is no way to cross-check who I say I am with who I really am. All they go off of is the... After watching that vice presidential debate...
So this is the app. This is the app that Tim Walsh was talking about. This is the app that JD Vance had to do some fact checking on because the moderators were saying that the Haitian people in Springfield, Ohio actually had legal status. That app, that walkthrough that he just showed you, that's the legal status that those moderators were talking about in that debate. That's how easy it is. Why would you ever do it the proper way if you could just do that? Why would you ever think about doing it the right way when you could just do that? It's crazy. It's crazy. And also, speaking to what Trump said, cartel members could easily do this. They're even asking you, where do you want to meet? The cartel could just be like, yeah, okay, we've charged how many people? How many guys we got here? 500? Okay, do the app. They have one guy, probably maybe 2, 3, 4 guys. They're all just sitting there on the app. Register all those people. Leave them there. They actually get brought in. It's like making the cartel jobs easier. But if you ask anybody who's not like I am, tinfoil Speedo, then of course they're going to tell you, oh my God, that's a conspiracy. I'm going to leave you guys with this last one. This is a woman who actually lives in Springfield, Ohio, is working at the grocery store. Check this out. Oh.
At the grocery store, and I cashed them out. The receipts were alarming. $13,000 on EBT food, not including the $29,000 that was on EBT cash. It's infuriating. Yes, sir.
So they're not getting 600.
And while they're dressed very well, how are you able to dress like that? Coming over here as running for help that we're supposedly helping them, how are you dressed like that when we, the American people, are scrapping for the next set of work boots? That's a problem. That's a serious problem.
So that's what I just want to make sure you can see her face again, because you can tell she's pissed. You could tell this lady's angry with what she's seeing. Trump flag in the back, of course, because if that wasn't Trump country before, it definitely is now. Absolutely crazy. Crazy stuff going on. So there you have it, guys. I just wanted to bring you a bunch of information there. Hope you're able to hang around until this point. If you did, thank you so much. Hit that like, subscribe button, turn on your notifications. Helps us tremendously. Other than that, I'm out.